teacher because she's super funny and super nice. She makes it fun when I go to school. She lets me do awesome things. She protects us. I love my teacher because she helped me get faster at arithmetic. I love my teacher because there's so many reasons I love my teacher. Oh, she's funny. Because she's funny. I love my teacher because she works hard. Because she's patient. Because she teaches us really good math. Because she teaches us language arts. Because she teaches me all of the rules. I love my teacher because she's thoughtful. Because she's really sweet and marvelous. I love my teacher because she has a big heart. Because she's smart. I love my teacher because she's patient. Because he teaches me awesome sports. She's not afraid to be goofy. Sometimes she calls herself Miss Bananas. I just love her. She makes me feel very warm and fuzzy inside, and whenever I'm around her, I feel very safe and protected. Because she's sweet. Because she's awesome. She's cool. I love my teacher. I love my teacher. I love my teacher. I love my teacher. My teacher is just the greatest teacher ever. I love my teacher because she loves me.
Well, hello, my favorite Jordan teachers. I am so excited about this school year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya Chauncey Lincoln. My background is in working in education, educational behavior mod. I work internationally. I help set up schools. We work with campus improvement plans. Part of my specialty with the Fort Worth Independent School District, which is in Fort Worth, Texas, has been in ESL and bilingual, so right up our alley. A lot of my research, especially in recent years, has been with international schools, which you guys are, of course. I had the privilege of meeting many of you this summer. For those who I didn't have the pleasure to meet in person yet, I'm really excited. I can't wait to be with you in person for training. This is a poor substitute, and I'm so sorry. But I am really excited about this year. Thank you, Nabil. Thank you, Michaela and Jessica, for everything and helping us get ready. Nadia, I'm excited. All you girl. Okay, so with that, let's start with just a tiny bit. This year, it looks like you guys are going to be walking forward with American accreditation. And with that, most likely you're going to be using advanced ed academics. The great thing about that is that's what we use here with the schools that I've been a part of as well. It's for college readiness. Now, if you're not familiar with the different international schools and what that looks like, or with the different accreditation programs and what that means, here's your short, tiny background. You essentially have either British, European, or American accreditation. You guys have been using British curriculum, but you're an American academy. And as you're moving into advanced grades and we're looking to find great scholarships and learning opportunities and internships for those kiddos, we want to kind of help align those and hopefully get them a little college credit before they even graduate your school. It's an incredible opportunity. So you're familiar with IB, which is International Baccalaureate, and AP, which is Advanced Placement. You guys are currently IB, but it looks like you're going to be moving towards Advanced Placement. The summary of the difference between those two is Advanced Placement is specifically geared towards meeting the demands of the tests that will determine your ability in a college or university level. So it's college preparatory. Now, IB can also be college preparatory, but it's more of a holistic learning, and they provide avenues and conduits for other types of learning. The best part about being an AP school with the training that you're going to be receiving is you will be a holistic school, providing opportunities and learning status for all types of children, despite where they come from, as well as where they want to go. As we all know, college is fantastic. It opens great opportunities, but it's not for everybody. And sometimes our intelligence lies in different areas. So as educators, our privilege and our responsibility is to be able to know our students well enough to know where they are, what they need, how they learn, and how we can advance them to the best of their ability. You are world changers because you are life changers, and I am a firm believer this is the best, absolutely hands down the best profession that you could be in. And if your heart's not in it, I highly recommend finding another job. But if you desire to shape and mold and develop somebody to the best of their ability, you are in the right place. And I'll tell you right now, you're with the right people. I am so excited to be working with the American Academy in Jordan and with you guys, and to see what all that encompasses. On the agenda that I'm sending with you guys, I just want to run through that very quickly. I am a big proponent of brain-based teaching and learning, and that's basically using techniques, strategies, and pedagogy, the way you teach, to accomplish what's necessary in the brain. Now, I know that sounds silly. People are like, well, isn't all learning brain-based? But it's not. If you have ever wanted to slam your head on a desk because you are not understanding a concept, you've seen a child check out and they're just gone, it means we have not yet tapped into that piece in their brain that would allow them to intake the information that we have to get into their brains to the best of their ability or ours. And that's what brain-based does. We're looking at even neurologically what's happening. How can we best build those neurological highways? Your brain is full of all kinds of electrical things happening, and the more those highways are built, when dendrites and neurons are firing back and forth in the same manner, it's basically, think of like a beaten path. When you first drive over a path in this big field, and you can barely see the tire tracks as they went through, over the course of days, months, years, it has been worn down, and now the path is very visible. Nobody even has to guess where the path is any longer. Our brains are the same way. They develop highways inside. It maps inside. And the deeper the highway, the more readily, quick, and available information is to get to the students. So that's what we really want to do as brain-based educators, is develop and build those highways so that it's rapid refire, memory, attention, recall. And that's really important when we're talking about acquiring content information in a language that was not our first. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're going to hear it referred to as ESL, English as a second language. You will hear bilingual. You're going to hear American Language School, ASL. There's a lot of acronyms that are happening. And so I'm actually going to show you guys a clip in just a bit, because there's a few things that we're going to be going through. So here is our agenda today. We're going to be looking at who you guys are, what your roles are, and this is just an intro. So these are big questions that won't be answered today, but it's food for thought for you to be considering as we walk forward in this school year. Because I work with campus improvement plans, that's part of the development I'm going to be doing with you guys. Really, my organization, Hands International, we partner with other professionals that want to donate their time. And that's what we're doing here. And my entire time with you guys is going to be over helping your campus improve, no matter where we are, no matter how fabulous we are, whether it shows in data and statistics and testing or by the reputation that precedes us. There is always room for advancement. And in this ever-growing technological culture, we have to be prepared to keep searching for how I can be better today than I was yesterday, and be better tomorrow than I was today. And so that's our goal. With that, we create campus improvement plans, and then the other thing is we supplement that with staff development, professional development. Again, other acronyms. You're going to hear me say PD, that stands for professional development. You're going to hear me say SD, and that stands for staff development. And so professional development are for those that are responsible for getting the content into the minds of the students. Staff development is for all of us. Collectively, we work together as a team. And there is not one piece of our team that is less important than the others, and I mean that. From the person who is cooking or preparing, to the person who's cleaning the floors, to the person who's making the ultimate decisions and writing the checks, to the person who is teaching biology, to the person who's teaching KG 1 and 2. Everybody's part in this is really important, and we're going to talk about why that is, because we are a school environment. We're a collective, holistic learning place. All right, so let's keep going. One of the segments that I'm going to cover under your campus improvement plan is MMVV, and that's looking at mission, motto, vision, and values. And that's really important to have collectively as a staff, not just told to us, but where we're a part of developing that together, because I need for you to have buy-in and ownership, just like you need your students to have buy-in and ownership. My entire experience with you guys is to see that God would bless us with minds and skills to be the best that we can possibly be. I want the reputation of American Academy of Jordan to be known all throughout the Middle East, and I'm working all throughout the Middle East. So I'm talking you guys up. I'm sharing what it is that we have planned and what we're hoping to be doing. And as things get done and accomplished, I'm sharing those as well. Okay, we're going to talk about roles and responsibilities. We're going to talk about academic rigor and relevance and what the difference is, what that means. You're going to hear some of my specialists talk about rigor. Accountability measures. How are we accountable to each other, to the students, to the state of Jordan, to the parents? How are we accountable, and how do we measure that so that we can even gather our own success and help our students understand their success as well? We're going to look at the learning environment and logistical planning for success. And then we're going to move into a discussion section, and Michaela's going to be leading that for us, but I've got some questions for her. You're going to put them on index cards or cut up pieces of paper, and that's going to be a really important activity for you guys. I'm really excited about that. And then we're going to move into staff development. And basically in staff development, when I'm talking about PD, professional development and staff development, we want to look at the challenges and the needs that we have as a campus. This is how we determine what professional development do we need. We have to look at the challenges and the needs that we're experiencing on a regular, everyday basis. And who better than the teachers and the staff to tell us what it is that we're needing in order to become better. We're going to look at the requirements. There are professional development requirements when you start looking at accreditation, especially for secondary. And if we do move to the American accreditation for AP, you will be having SAT tests and other things like that. And so there are certain requirements for professional development to make sure that you're meeting the standards for accreditation. Next, certifications. The great thing about professional development is that means you and your staff continue to engage and grow even in your own certifications. It's good for resumes, it's good for portfolios. I can explain those things later. Not that you're leaving, you're staying with us, so put your resumes away. However, you have it available, and sometimes it's just knowing I have what I need. Sometimes when we get overwhelmed, because if you are a teacher, a real teacher, you get overwhelmed. If not, I question your sanity. And it's because we understand the responsibility of what we have to do. And we have to deal with little people every day. You know what? And there's a motto that Deanna, my cousin, has. She has it on a mug. And it just says, go. Keep the tiny humans alive today. So sometimes that's where we're at with sanity. And so we want to move beyond just keeping them alive to developing them. And I know that that weighs on us sometimes. And that's what sometimes our professional development can help us with, where we feel like we have a better set of tools and tricks to be able to do what it is that we need to do. And then, let's see, pedagogy. We're going to be talking about pedagogy, the way you teach what you teach. Everybody's teaching style is different. I don't want us to have the same teaching style. There is no way on God's green earth that Michaela and Mike should be teaching the exact same way, right? They each have their own teaching style, but there are certain things that we can incorporate into our pedagogy, and we can understand our own self better, understanding what it is I'm doing in the course of the way I'm teaching, so as to improve for the sake of the students, especially when it comes to brain-based learning and teaching. And the last thing I want to talk to you about are the empowerment pieces. With your staff development, there's some things that we can definitely bring to you. There is a researcher in California, her name is Dr. Aida Waki, and she, with her company of West Ed, have done some phenomenal research. If you want to see any of the research, I'm happy to send it to you. If you just need something to help you fall asleep at night, we've got that for you. But Dr. Waki is amazing, and she created this program called QTEL, Quality Teaching for English Language Learners. That is your entire school. And so what Dr. Waki did is she took our founding educational philosophers like Dewey and especially Vygotsky. She starts with Vygotsky when she starts about the foundation of education. And there's some things that we're going to talk about in that. And I'm going to get to present some of what Dr. Waki shows in her research. Part of that is the better way to do lesson plans. Part of that is a better way to imprint or get information from the board into somebody's head. There's all kinds of things that we're going to learn in that. Other pieces of training, let me flip over my notes. We're going to eventually, we have the ability to do Boys Town. Boys Town is a behavior management piece. And really what it does is it looks at what our children do and why, and when we get frustrated with them when they don't do things the right way. But sometimes our definition of right way is very different. Boys Town has 16 social skills. So I'm going to do a quick snippet on that in just a little bit. Another one is TBRI for the classroom, and that's touch-based response. When you have children that are not progressing like they should, they're not acting like they should, something is wrong, something is up, they may have difficulties, from learning difficulties to trauma to background issues. We need to best know how to engage with that student. Again, every learner is just that. No matter where your brain is, you can learn in advance, and as the educators, that becomes our responsibility and our privilege to take them from where they are and to move them to a place that was better than when they first came to us. That's part of what TBRI will help us do, touch-based response intervention. And we'll talk more about that later. Okay, next, we're gonna hit brain-based learning and the foundations of what that looks like. We're gonna talk about community learning. We're gonna talk about scaffolding. You're going to hear several of our specialists mention the word scaffolding. Literacy components. The foundation of literacy comes down to reading, writing, listening, and speaking every single time. Can you read, write, listen, and speak in a language? And that's when literacy occurs. And for those of us that are in education with youngers, it's really important that we hone in and focus on that component of reading. And we're going to talk more about that. There are 5 components within reading itself. So literacy is broken into 4, reading is broken into 5, and we're going to talk about that in just a bit. We're going to hit learning styles, we're going to talk about love languages, we're going to talk about multiple intelligences, and anything else, learning modalities, and if we wanted to, eventually we could get into love and logic. There are so many pieces of training that we can do that you can actually get comp time for, professional development time for. And we definitely want to be a part of helping you guys with that. So that is this intro. I'm sorry it was so long. You have the agenda. And eventually I'm going to show you different pieces. So if you don't get them all in this training over the next couple of days, don't worry. We've got them. You'll have them. But I hope this blesses you. I am so excited. I can't wait to bring a team of professionals to come and meet you guys, to be with you, see the amazing things that are happening. I ask for God's blessing over you guys, and I am thrilled. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
They got taught by another teacher, and a teacher got taught by another one. So all kinds of teachers teach other teachers how to teach kids.
When you think you've got the job down, that's the time to be nervous.
As teachers, we have to learn how to adapt.
Children learn different ways. They learn by touching, they learn by doing, they learn by seeing or hearing.
The teachers always make it fun for us, into games for us.
It's weird to say quizzes are fun, but yeah, he makes them fun.
Good teaching is performance.
Their job is to inspire you to do something with your life.
And I love that, blowing their minds.
The goal is to make them better for whatever that's worth.
And that's the biggest reward ever. It's really cool.
You touch one child's life, I mean, that's everything. That's everything.
Hello, my name is Lisa Gonzalez, and I'm a teacher in Fort Worth at International Newcomer Academy, which is a program for first-year immigrant and refugee students. They come to our school for 1 year for intensive English, at the same time learning the core subjects of math, reading, social studies, science, and English. And I've been there for 16 years now. I've also known Tanya and Jessica for about 20 years. They're kind of my basically adopted sisters and cousins. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you just some of my go-to strategies, things I do regularly in the classroom. I get, again, beginning students that come with little to no English and sometimes interrupted educational background and schooling. So we get pretty creative, but we do our best to we don't want to water down the curriculum at all. We want to continue provide rigorous content at the same time scaffolding for their English level and abilities. So I'm going to walk you through basically what's called 3 moments in a lesson. It will be a very quick overview. Normally a lesson would take could take 2 to 3 days, depending on the content. But I'm going to do just a brief overview and show you what that would look like in a condensed version. So we're going to start with 3 moments that are preparing, interacting, and extending. So what I'll do is I will show you, explain what each of those elements are briefly, and then we'll do just a quick example of a strategy. That would be an example of a preparing or interacting or extending strategy. So the first one is preparing. And for preparing, we are accessing prior knowledge and trying to build the student background and knowledge. Again, our students are coming from various countries and cultures, so some of the texts we might provide, they'll need extended support and background information in order to be able to comprehend the text better. So an example of that is, it's called Novel Ideas Only. And this might be one of the first strategies and tasks that I begin before going to get into a text. One of the examples I'll use, the text is called Growing Together. And see, this is kind of already some student examples of answers from this. But so what the students would do is they would get into a small group and groups of 3 or 4. And they would write down the prompt, and then they would, each person would take a turn saying, I think the story is about, and then share their idea. And then all the students would repeat and write down the idea, and then the groups would take turns sharing the list. So going back to number 2, just a reminder that well, at least for our students, they're very beginner, so we provide sentence stems, conversation guides, an example of how you could begin and continue the conversation. And students with varying levels could deviate from this if they have already a greater grasp of English, but this just provides a framework for especially those very beginning students. And just another thing to keep in mind is that you want to provide as many opportunities for oral interaction as possible. So this is offering that interaction so that the students are actually talking. And so we want to provide opportunities each day, each lesson for reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So they would take turns listening and repeating, writing down the ideas. And so at number 4, each group takes turns. You get a spokesperson from each group to share their ideas. The first group would share all of their ideas. The second group and the third group, or whatever remaining groups are there, are listening to what that group is sharing. And if they have some of the same ideas, then they would put a check mark on that. And that would be something they wouldn't share with the whole class because it's already been said. If it's a new idea that they haven't had or they didn't write down, then they would write that down as well on their list. So hence the task named Novel Ideas, which means new ideas. So we're only sharing those things as a group that have not yet been shared. And so this is giving everyone an opportunity to explore what they might think the story's about, again, accessing that prior knowledge, and then kind of building the schema for what the story would be about. And then another example of a preparing activity, and just story guide. Again, we have here some student examples from a lesson. And on this guide, you are creating questions or sentences, statements that the students would have to either agree or disagree. And you are creating the statements that would really help to build their understanding of some of the themes of the text. So this one, for example, this story is about a girl who is from another culture and has come to live in America, and so she's dealing with some of those identity issues of being a bicultural person. So one example of a statement is, it's not okay to miss your home country. And so another one would be, it's difficult to leave home and move to a new country. So again, these are just some statements that are going to activate the learner's prior understanding, get them thinking about some of the themes of the text before they actually start to read the text. So some things to keep in mind for the anticipatory guide is performed in pairs, partners. You provide possible sentence stems and conversation guides, again, depending on the level of your students. I'm not sure if you have varying levels of English levels in your classes, but again, it's one way that you can offer what we call multiple points of entry for different levels. So some students that have very little English, you're providing a sentence stem that they can use so they can still participate in the conversation, but you also allow variety for those that have more extended English and can provide their own input. So some of the examples that you could provide for sentence stems would be statement number 1 says, and then one of the partners would read that statement, then they would share, I agree or disagree because, and then share the reason that they give for that, and then the partner would share if they agree or disagree as well. The students go through all of the questions, and here is, you can vary how you teach this task. If the students are very minimal in their English skill, you don't need to, you could leave out the reason part and they could start with just the statements and they agree or disagree. And as they become more proficient, then you would add the reason part so that they can justify their answer and they can write that down. And then interacting, so this would be the second moment in the lesson, and this is where we are interacting with the text. Again, a couple things to keep in mind is that you want quality interactions with the text and the students, providing opportunities for oral communication. So I've given a couple of things that I do when we're reading a text. The first time through, they're reading with a partner, and they're using what's called a clarifying bookmark. And this is, again, another conversation guide to help them summarize their understanding or their lack of understanding as they're reading. So you can vary it, but a good place to start would be the students read 2 paragraphs at a time. They can start 1 paragraph at a time, where they read 1 paragraph, and then they stop, or 2 paragraphs. They stop and then they summarize what their understanding is. So here's kind of a beginner clarifying bookmark, and again, this is for students with little English, and as they become more proficient, then you could provide a more complex conversation guide. This just starts off with saying, I'm going to summarize my understanding. I understand this part, and I can summarize it in this way. So here's 2 options they could choose from if they understand. And then they would share their understanding. And then if they don't understand, they're asking for clarification. Another way that they could ask is, this part is not clear to me, can you explain it? So again, it's just you're providing a model, a guide, so that they can learn how to have these kinds of questioning techniques as they're reading. And eventually, they are internalizing these techniques and able to do it on their own without the scaffold of the bookmark, and they'll eventually grow in their proficiency in different questions that they can ask as they're interacting with the text. And you're teaching them just to learn how to engage a text and ask questions, check for their understanding along the way. So here's the text we're using. It's not very long. I use this for very beginner students.
What age?
And my students are 8th grade, so this is text we use for middle school primarily. But high schoolers have used it as well. We have 9th grade at our school. And another interacting task that I've used is called a double entry journal. And for a longer text, there's a column for page numbers. Again, our text is not very long, so you could omit that part. On one side, it would write a quotation from the text, a quote, a significant quote, and then you can change the objective that you have of what they write on the second part of the column. This one, we're wanting to get the students to understand the character's emotions and how that affects the plot development. So I've provided this STEM. This shows that she feels. So their task is to find a quote that's significant and then use that to try to discern what is she feeling, what emotions is she feeling, and how does that quotation support that. But again, you can vary the prompt on that third column, but this is a way for them to interact and engage with the text meaningfully. This could be done independently, but again, I always think it's great to provide as many opportunities for oral communication as possible. So it could be done in pairs, and the students could do this with partners. And then the final moment in the lesson is extending, and this is where you're giving them an opportunity to extend their learning and synthesize the information in a new way. One of my primary ways to do this with text to teach character development it's called a mind mirror. It's a type of collaborative poster, and their task includes getting a poster, drawing some kind of face on their head, and they can get creative with this. You can provide that, or they can do it themselves. And so what they would do is they would need to use the text to find 2 quotes that are significant, that really represent the character, the main character. 2 original phrases, so these are phrases that are not verbatim from the text, but from their own understanding of what they understand about the character. And then 2 symbols that relate to the character's dilemmas, their thoughts, situations. And then 2 relevant drawings, pictures, that illustrate the character's situations, thoughts, or concerns. So again, this is a great activity to help with students' understanding of character, characterization. And one thing, to keep in mind is that at least for my students, understanding the difference between, or what a symbol is something I have to teach. And so you can give examples of different symbols, and then possible symbols to discuss that with as a class, what possible symbols could be. And then drawings, so that one's going to be just more of something that happened in the story that was significant. When I'm teaching this to my students, I would provide these questions. What quote represents the character, and depending on your text, you could name the specific characters that you're discussing. What symbol represents the character? What picture helps us understand the character? What can we say in our own words that shows we understand the character? And as I allow them time to prepare, want them to brainstorm first, and here's just a couple of sentence stems that I offer them. I think this quote, or we can say, we can draw, we can write, various ways, but again, just providing conversation guides and examples and as models for how you would interact in conversation. I have some examples I'd like to show you, but it's on another slide that I have not yet prepared, so maybe I can do that in a moment. So again, that's just some of my go-to. And one thing I like about the mind mirror is that, again, it's providing multiple points of entry for students of different English levels and capabilities. Students that maybe their English level or their writing ability is more minimal, but they have great, drawing skills. They can draw, they can do the symbol. So you can maximize on student strengths and get them to work collaboratively together. And you're still providing an opportunity for that oral interaction, reading, listening, and speaking components. So yes. So I will also provide Tanya with an example of what some of the student-generated mind mirrors look like. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Melissa Adair, and I am a teacher. I have taught for about 15 to 17 years, numerous grades. I've done preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and third grade. Currently, I teach preschool here at Muskogee Early Learning Childhood Center, and this is my classroom. So my sister's here also, and here.
Hi, my name is Deanna Jackson, and I was a teacher at Parents Day Out program for about 17 years. I was a director of the same program for about 2 years. I've taught at Learning Tree Preschool, where I've been a preschool aide, a kindergarten aide, and I've also been a teacher of the 2-year-old class and a teacher of the 3-year-old class.
So we are going to kind of walk around the room and maybe show you some of our things in our room that can help you with procedures, with transitions. We're also going to talk a little bit about grouping, and I'll talk some about that, and some reading tools and materials that things you can use to teach reading. So this is, let's start with a carpet. One procedure that we do is sitting on the carpet for whole group time, which, as you can see, my carpet has squares that are colored, so that's very convenient. I have duct tape that I have put their names on the duct tape so that they know exactly where they are to sit. And our expectation is that they sit crisscross applesauce, hands in your lap. That way they're not bothering their friends or anything like that. With transitioning, sometimes I say if you're sitting on the blue squares, you can line up, or green squares. So I use the carpet, the colors, for a transition time. At the tables, also, they have their names. That way they know exactly where they sit. It helps with name recognition. Also, the names on the carpet help with name recognition. When they come into class, they know where their seat is, and they work at these tables daily. They can look at their name, and some try to write it, by looking at it. They write in their journals, so that helps. Let's see. Over here, we have a line of bees, and they have numbers on them. I have 21 kids, so we put 21 bees on the floor so that when they come and line up, they know to stand on a bee. Now, sometimes I will say, London, go stand on number 4. That might be later in the year when they are recognizing their numbers. Sometimes I say line up boy, girl, boy, girl. That's another way you can transition to the line. So that helps with the lining up part. Deanna, you want to add some for transition that you do in your classroom?
My transition, one of the things that I do is when we go from, they've been doing centers, and that means that they've been doing different things at table activities. They've had some carpet time, a craft or whatever. And we'll ring a bell and sing a cleanup song, and that's when they know that it's time to pick things up, put them back in their place, and they know that we're getting ready for the next thing, which is snack time in our class.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. I also have a train whistle that I blow that they know to clean up. I blow it and they clean up, and then I blow it again, and we transition to the next rotation. Now my tables, see how they're kind of in a circle-ish or half a circle. So they know that if they're at this table, then the next table they could go to is that one. Then the next table would be that one, and then that one. So the room is definitely set up in a way that they can rotate well or transition well to the next learning station that we do. I have over here on the board, we do a question of the day a lot of the times, and that's another way you can have them transition to the line or, transition to their station, whatever. Come and put your name on the board and then go to your station. We did Are You a Boy or a Girl the other day, and we even compared how many boys, how many girls, if they were equal or more or less. So that was that's always a fun activity. For grouping, let me talk a minute about that. I have these two whiteboards. I group my children by their skill. We assess them continuously, and when they are in a group and they're learning a skill and then they have mastered that skill, we move them to the next group. And on this whiteboard is where I will put their names. And the whiteboard just helps that when they change groups frequently, I can just wipe their name off and put it in the next group. That really helps. And that's kind of a visual for me with the stations, just because I need to know who's in what group, and that just helps me visually. So anyway, there's our word wall. Haven't had any words on there yet because beginning of the year. Computers, we have lots of stations and centers and things like that. Tools. We don't really have a curriculum. So I just kind of look on Pinterest. I know Deanna has mentioned that too. We look for ideas for whatever skill they're learning on Pinterest. We make a lot of things. I have a lot of things made already. I'm sure Deanna does too, because we've made them for the past year, or the past year before that. So just, I look on Pinterest. I do a lot of nursery rhymes that helps with rhyming. You can include numbers with that. The patterning of a rhyme is very, very good for kids. Just the steady beat of something, a rhyme is it's all over good. And it helps with early literacy, rhyming does. So I use a lot of those, intend to use a lot more this year too. So I think that's about it. Anything else you want to add?
Biggest thing is repetition.
Repetition, procedures. We focus on procedures probably the first 2 weeks of school. There is some learning going on, but we come to the carpet a lot. We remind them to sit crisscross applesauce. We go to the bees and line up on the bees and make sure they are. And it takes a lot of time of your day, but in the end, you'll have more time for learning eventually because they will know the routine and the procedure. And kids, you'd be surprised, but they understand and they learn quickly, but you just have to stay on them continuously. So mailboxes, I'll have Deanna show you. That's a good organization skill, I guess. They each have a mailbox with their name on it. I don't know where I got this, but I think it was already here when I came, but it's perfect for their work. They're working at a center or a station. They can find their name and put it in their mailbox and take it home. And then we know what goes in their folder at the end of the day. The going home, I made this for when they go home. It's car, after school, bus. It just says the kid's name, so I know how the kids are getting home. It just helps me visually to know, okay. And if I had to be gone, the substitute or whoever would know, oh, Lance is on the green bus. So anyway, sometimes these young kids don't remember how they get home. So this is very good. But anyway, I think that's it. Like I said, procedures are very important, and you have to really, really, really dig those in. And you might seem like you're losing learning time, but you're not, because in the end it will help. So thank you.
All right, loved ones, we are going to take a few minutes and walk into our first discussion. This discussion is going to be about just who we are as a learning community. We are going to look at MMVV. So all good learning communities take time to develop a sense of identity together and as a team. And the MMVV just helps us really understand that, come to that conclusion, and have buy-in as a campus. So we understand who we are, what our values are, and where we're headed with that. The first M stands for mission, and that's a mission statement. It just is a statement where we literally say we exist to what? And we just want to think about that. What is the entire purpose for our existence? The motto is the phrase that we use. It's an inspiring phrase that we can collectively use to challenge us to remember who we are as a learning community. Some people say they have a motto or a saying for life. Kind of the same idea, but specific to our learning environment. And then the values. These are those core components that actually make up the character and the worth of our organization. So these values embody the core of who we are and who we stand for. We want to hold to those values in everything we do, in everything that we attempt to accomplish. And they also become the core components to our vision statement. So values can be things like leadership, integrity, perseverance, etc. And then the vision statement itself, which really is one of the most important things that we can design and create as a learning community, is a statement of belief about where we're headed and what we intend to accomplish as a learning community. Now, the vision is developed with the values in mind. So we're actually going to move to an activity where we are going to individually just kind of think about some of these things. If you would, I believe that either Jessica or Michaela have some items for you, and it's either going to be index cards or just small pieces of paper, and you're basically just going to answer 6 questions. When you're finished with those, and I still have a few instructions for that, but once we're finished, you're not going to turn them in. You're actually going to put them in an envelope, seal the envelope, put your name on the outside and the date. And what we're going to do is come back to these at a future time when we're going to continue this discussion as a staff. So let's begin the activity. You should either have paper already or be getting the paper at your tables. You should have something to write with. And so here's what we're going to do. Question number 1, with a shoulder partner. That's one of the partners to your right or to your left, whoever your shoulder is nearest. Think about and agree on 5 values that you both believe are or should be an important part in the core values of AAJ. These are values and they can be one-word concepts. For example, integrity, perseverance, patience. And again, feel free to Google, look up some things, get some ideas. It's a great idea to solicit ideas, borrow some from others. All right, question number 2 is going to be, what are your 2 most important roles and responsibilities at AAJ? So again, you're going to think about this one for a minute and answer it on your own. Number 3 will be, can you define rigor? And if so, please do and or provide an example. So again, please feel free to talk with your shoulder partners on this one. Number 4, can you define relevance? Again, we're talking in regards to education. So if so, please do and provide an example. Number 5, what is your favorite thing about AAJ's learning environment? And number 6, if you could change, add, or dream one addition to the environment, what would it be? So again, please feel free to use a shoulder partner for the majority of these questions. Number 2 is really a personal question for you, but please take time to answer these thoughtfully. As soon as you're done, we do ask that you seal them in the envelope with your name on the outside, and we're going to return to this at the next visit when I'm in person, and we can continue our training together. I look forward to it, and we are really just excited about all this school year might entail for you guys. Take care, be blessed, and have a great rest of the week. See you soon. Bye-bye.